Well, considering the popularity of our rifles around the Baltic Sea video and the more recent overview of IFVs in the region, let's continue this series by looking at the armoured personnel carriers, or APCs, adopted by each nation. We again have to list similar introductory notes as our other video. In terms of geography and nations covered, we've chosen to stick to allied nations around the Baltic Sea, plus Norway, due to its connection with the rest of the Nordics. Another way to put it is that we're covering the Baltics and Nordics, plus Poland and Germany. But however you want to frame it, Benelux and France are getting left out. Sorry. The other thing we have to do is define what an armoured personnel carrier is, even if the name somewhat says it all. It's an armoured vehicle that carries troops. Also referred to as a battle taxi, these vehicles have armour to protect soldiers from bullets and shell fragments, carrying them to battle zones so that they can dismount and fight on foot. An important thing to note about APCs is that they are not fitted with any sort of heavy gun/cannon, as this would essentially make them IFVs. Indeed, APCs tend to have limited armament, often not much heavier than a 50 cal or 7.62mm machine gun, and this can either be fitted as a manned weapons station or operated remotely. And so, with those notes out of the way, let's get to our list. Just like our IFV video, we begin with Estonia, head south through the rest of the Baltics, move over to Poland and Germany, then up to Denmark, then Norway, and east to end at Finland. So, here we go. For the Estonian Defence Forces, things are a bit mixed. The nation has its older Sisu XA-180 and XA-188 fleets. Per an Estonian Defence Forces press release, the XA-180 EST was first used by Estonian Defence Forces around 2005, and the XA-188 armoured vehicles would then be procured from the Netherlands in 2010. We couldn't find precise and up-to-date figures, but it's estimated that the EDF operates between 130 and 140 of these six-wheeled vehicles. The newer APCs operated by the EDF come from Turkey in the form of the 6x6 Anima from Otokar, ordered along with the 4x4 NMS. The deal, made final in October 2023, saw initial deliveries take place in 2025. Two Ukrainian sources say that Estonia has 130 of these, but we're not completely confident of these sources. Moving down to Latvia, we presume that this country still has some of its FV-103 Spartan APCs acquired from the UK as part of a larger CVRT family acquisition. However, many of these vehicles have been donated to Ukraine, and so we're not too sure of the numbers. For its newer battle taxis, Latvia has the Patria 6x6, of which some 250 plus have been ordered. However, at least 56 of these are command and control vehicles, while 42 of the APC variant were donated to Ukraine. And so our guess is that the Baltic nation has somewhere around 150 Patria 6x6 APCs. First delivered to Latvian forces in 2021 from Finland, Latvia now produces its own Patria 6x6s and has been doing so since 2024. The nation is a member of the CAVS, or Common Armoured Vehicle System program, as are many other nations in today's video. As such, expect the term CAVS and Patria 6x6 to come up a lot more as we go through our list. Estonia was an early member, but withdrew in favour of the Turkish APCs. Moving to Lithuania, the country is in the process of greatly modernising its APC fleet. At the moment, the southern Baltic country relies on its aging M113s to fill the battle taxi role. However, it was only recently that the country announced plans to acquire some 936 Patria 6x6 vehicles. These have been announced as direct replacements for the M113s, and it's added that they will fill the maneuver role, command post tasks, medical support, fire support, engineer support, communication, reconnaissance, and chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, or CBRN, safety. With that in mind, we won't have a clear idea of exactly how many of those 936 vehicles will be battle taxis as opposed to other variants. Over in Poland, it looks like the country has invested far more into supplying units with IFVs, vehicles with large turrets, rather than more basic APCs. Now, many of the Poles who follow our channel have informed us that the KTO Rosomak, even with its 30mm gun, is considered an APC, and that the letters KTO, Kołowy Transporter Opancerzony, literally mean wheeled armoured personnel carrier. So that's a bit of a quirk when it comes to how we and most people define APC, as that near-identical setup with neighbouring Lithuania is an IFV. Indeed, their machine is referred to as the PKM Vilkas, and PKM stands for Pēstininkų kovos mašina, infantry fighting vehicle. And over in Canada, if you asked soldiers if their LAVs and their 25mm cannons were IFVs or APCs, well, they would tell you IFVs. With all that said, it looks like there are smaller fleets of KTO Rosomak 8x8s without turrets. These include the Rosomak M2 and M3. Indeed, Army recognition says that these are patrol variants armed with lighter weapons such as a 12.7mm machine gun. As we explained in our previous video, the Rosomaks are Polish versions of the Finnish Patria AMV produced domestically under license. We do need to add that Poland purchased used Cougar MRAPs from the United States and may use these in an APC type of role. Indeed, this was something we witnessed during a multinational exercise in Lithuania. However, it's our understanding that the capacity of the Cougars purchased by Poland is far less than typical APCs. As of August 2026, we're not quite sure of Poland's stance on accepting the 250 strikers from the United States, that precisely $1 deal. We assume some of these would/could be APCs, but again, it's far from a done deal. The big debate with these is the cost of upkeep, as they'll require a lot of time and spare parts to make them suitable for service. And then in Germany, at the time we're making this video, there appear to be two very clear APC platforms used, the old Fuchs 6x6 and the GTK Boxer 8x8. There are a few hundred Fuchs APCs, while Germany plans to operate around 2,000 Boxers in the coming years. However, it's important to note that the Boxer platform in German service can range from APC to IFV to command control and even self-propelled howitzer. Thus, it's unclear just how many Boxers in the APC role the Germans have/will have. The Fuchs 6x6, which has been in service since the 1980s, is due to be replaced by the Patria 6x6, which will enter service with the Bundeswehr from around 2027. On the tracked side, Germany operates the BV-206S lightly armoured vehicle. As explained by the vehicle's page on the Bundeswehr website, this platform is used by paratroopers and mountain warfare specialists of the army, as well as in the medical service of the support area. Moving up to Denmark, the country has over 300 Piranha 5 8x8 armoured vehicles, which replaced its aging M113 tracked APCs. While many of these Piranhas are in the APC role, some are also used for command and control, medevac, as well as mortar carriers, among other uses. The country has also held on to some of its older Piranha 3 armoured vehicles, and it's said that less than 100 remain in Danish service. We do know that in 2023, Germany helped to fund and delivered 19 of these armoured personnel carriers to Moldova to modernize the Moldovan armed forces. Finally, for Denmark, the nation has ordered 129 Patria 6x6s and is a member of the CAVS program. And so some, if not all, of these vehicles will be used as APCs. Up in Norway, it looks like the Nordic nation is far more focused on CV-90 IFVs for its land forces. We know that Norwegian forces use the M113, but it's unclear how many are still in service and how many of these are used as battle taxis. We know the nation has the ACSV G5, but many of these are specialist variants for roles like mortar and short-range air defense, and so there's little clarity on if this platform is also used as a troop carrier. Adding to the vagueness of Norway's situation, we know that the nation has operated the 6x6 Sisu 180 series vehicles, also known as Patria Passis, but it's unclear if these are still in service and used in the APC role. On the unarmoured side, we know that Norway has hundreds and hundreds of Hägglunds Bandvagn 206s, or BV 206s, to transport troops in the high north, but it's our understanding that these are not armoured. Finally, we know that Norway is a member of the CAVS program and that it plans to order the Patria 6x6, although it hasn't at the time we're making this video. But there's a good chance that some of the vehicles ordered will end up being used as battle taxis. For Sweden's APCs, it's all about Finnish-made vehicles on the wheeled side, ranging from older 6x6 Passis or Pansarterrängbull models 180, 202 and 203 to the newer Patria 6x6 or Pansarterrängbull 300. There's also the Pansarterrängbull 360, which is Sweden's name for the Patria AMV. As a member of the CAVS program, it was in 2024 that Sweden's procurement agency ordered 321 Pansarterrängbull 300 or Patria 6x6 vehicles and placed an additional order for 94 for a total of 415 vehicles. These are being delivered to the Swedish Armed Forces between 2025 and 2030. Again, these vehicles will see a mix of roles as they'll be used for troop transport, command control, and medevac. We also know that Sweden has taken an interest in the Trax vehicle from Patria, and so this could join the army in the coming years. And staying on the topic of tracked APCs, the nation uses hundreds of vehicles from the Bandvagn family, including the BV S10 and BV 206S. As explained by the website ointress.se, these are all articulated tracked vehicles, split between two interconnected carriages. This articulated steering results in less energy loss and less ground impact. And finally, we've reached Finland. The Finnish Defence Forces has hundreds of XA180/185 6x6s, as well as dozens of Passi XA203 OWS 6x6s, with OWS standing for Overhead Weapon Station, otherwise known as a remote weapon station. Finally, for 6x6s, the Finnish Defence Forces have placed serial orders for over 90 Patria 6x6 base vehicles, plus additional heavy variant options. The country also has dozens of 8x8 Patria AMV XA360s. On the tracked side, it's our understanding that Finland's Soviet-era MTLBs are also used as armoured transports. With several hundred used by Finnish troops, we're quite sure that these will be replaced by the brand new and similar-looking Patria Trax, although an official order has yet to be announced/placed. Finally, while it might be considered more of an MRAP, the military also operates a few dozen Sisu GTP 4x4s as troop carriers. And so there's your very general and somewhat vague overview of APCs used around Northern Europe. We intentionally tried to stay away from specific numbers, knowing that many of the same vehicles used as APCs are also used in other roles like command/control and medevac, although they might all be lumped into a single number. It's also important to remember how much is changing these days and that many orders have been placed in recent times or will be placed in the near future, particularly for the Patria 6x6 under the CAVS program. We know that Patria is trying to achieve the same level of popularity/adoption with its Trax platform, and so it also wouldn't be too surprising to us if some of these CAV member nations negotiate to swap some of their 6x6 orders for the tracked Trax platform. After all, it is a lot more agile and mobile over challenging terrain, and costs might be driven down if enough nations participate in broadening the vehicle's supply chain. So while there's quite a bit of APC diversity now, we can expect to see a lot more Patria 6x6s operating across the Baltics and Nordics, as well as Germany, in the years to come. What do you think of the APC situation in this region? Let us know by leaving a comment.